This is Social Science Simplified here. So today we're going to be discussing the 2020 election and kind of going through like what happened on election night and in the days following. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to display candidates winning no electoral votes. So Joe Jorgensen was the Libertarian candidate, and we're just going to use that orange Libertarian color when a state is either too close to call or too early to call. And we're basically going to be going through what happened on election night and in the days that followed, trying to simplify this election for you. So this is Social Science Simplified, and welcome back to another video. And now the unfortunate thing, I'm using 270 to win. Full credit goes to them. Amazing electoral maps, very interesting, all the way back to 1789. So basically, we're going to be using 270 to win. So I cannot change the split electoral votes, so we're just going to have to deal with that for now. And the 2020 map is no longer available on 271, so that is a little bit unfortunate, but we're just going to have to roll with those punches. So anyway, let's get after it. So what does this edit function do? I don't know. It doesn't do anything. Okay, so there's no way to do leans in this mode either. So we're going to start off with the first state call. So the first state call was actually Indiana and Kentucky got called together, both for Donald Trump. Biden actually did have an early lead in Kentucky by about 60,000 votes, and for a while, I actually thought Kentucky was going to go blue. But then Donald Trump actually did manage to catch up to Joe Biden and win in Kentucky. So that's very interesting. A lot of states did start off going blue. I know Alabama and Kansas both looked like they could potentially go blue, but then they were called for Trump. He did make a comeback in those states as expected. So as of now, it's 24 electoral votes, but it's really only 19-0. And this is around 6 and 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 or 8 on the East Coast. So then you did have Vermont get called for Joe Biden, so now you have 19-3. And then I'm going to speed this up a little, since a lot of these states don't really matter. You did obviously have New Hampshire actually was too early to call for a little bit, but you had, of course, the rest of these states along the East Coast filling in. Virginia was too early to call at first, and so was Rhode Island, interestingly. So right now, you have Biden with 51 electoral votes, Donald Trump with 19, and there are 21 electoral votes still up in the air, too early to call. So then you had West Virginia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama. I'm not doing these in order of the poll closings. I'm just kind of filling in these states that were called on election night. And then North Carolina and Georgia, obviously too early to call. However, Trump did have a significant lead in Georgia. I'm just going to fill in New York and Biden's column. And then New Hampshire and Rhode Island did good call later in the evening around, I'd say 9 p.m. Eastern time. And then one state I want to talk about in particular is Florida. Florida was obviously too early to call at first. And Biden had a significant lead of about 200,000 votes. But as time went on, more votes were counted. Donald Trump actually regained the majority of that ground and actually surpassed Biden. And probably around the same time that New Hampshire and Rhode Island were called for Biden, Florida got called for Trump. Now, if you were in the Biden campaign on that evening, that would be very concerning for you, because Florida was seen as one of the easiest inroads for Biden to win the 2020 election. While he did end up winning, Florida would have been a huge asset for him, just like winning Pennsylvania would have been a huge asset for Trump, or winning Arizona. So as of right now, you have Donald Trump with 88 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 88 electoral votes, and you have 44 electoral votes that are too close to call. So then you have Virginia getting called for Biden. And then obviously a safe state, Illinois, getting called for Biden. And then as you continue later into the evening, obviously you have Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and Kansas getting called for Biden. However, there is something I want to talk about with Kansas a little bit. Joe Biden actually did have an early lead in Kansas, which surprised me. Same with Alabama. And, obviously, the way ballots are counted, big cities are obviously going to count ballots faster. That is where the majority of Democrats do live, is in big cities. So when you see those states with Biden with an early lead, it is a little bit deceiving, but those states did end up getting called for Donald Trump. And then another state I wanted to talk about that was too early to call for a little bit was Ohio. And in Ohio, Joe Biden did have a slim lead, but Donald Trump regained that pretty quickly. And you actually did have Ohio called around 10 p.m. Eastern. Another blow to the Biden camp early on election night. I don't think they were ever concerned, judging by the demeanor of Joe Biden when he made the speech on the morning of November 4th. They were never concerned because they knew their ticket to the presidential victory was Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia. And then obviously Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, all Donald Trump leads, all too early to call. Trump had a lead of about 150,000 votes in Wisconsin, about 300,000 in Michigan, and then about 700,000 in Pennsylvania, so significant leads. Then Iowa was too early to call for a little bit, same with Texas, but those did end up getting called for Trump. Minnesota was too early to call for a little bit, obviously got called for Biden. And then South Dakota, North Dakota, they were not too early to call. They were easily called for Trump, along with Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and Utah. And then Colorado and New Mexico were called for Biden. However, Colorado was called fairly quickly, and that actually surprised a lot of people. A lot of political scientists and pundits were actually surprised that Colorado was called so quickly. And this was seen as a sign of a problem for the Trump campaign, because that was a sign that Trump could be losing the suburban vote, which he did end up losing, which ended up flipping states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Georgia back into the Democratic column in 2020. Then you had New Mexico getting called for Biden. And then obviously California, Oregon, and Washington all getting called, along with Hawaii. I forgot to make Hawaii undecided there. Make Hawaii undecided. So then the situation at the end of election night, when Trump and Biden both made their speeches. Alaska, Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, all too early or too close to call. And so you have all these issues of the day, COVID-19 pandemic, all of those issues of the day. And as you can see, 270towin.com. It's a situation on election night. And then Maine's 2nd Congressional District did get called for Trump, and Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District did get called for Biden early in the morning on November 4th, 2020. So then the situation, morning of November 4th, 2020, was Biden with 227 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 214 electoral votes. Now, I remember I was up late on election night thinking either Pennsylvania would swing or Pennsylvania would get called, and there would be some sort of victory declared on election night either way. However, that was not the case, so I was up until around 3 a.m. on election night. So I did not wake up until about 12 on November 4th, and by that point, Biden had taken the lead in Wisconsin and Michigan, and he maintained his lead in Nevada and Arizona. See, now if you look at that, within an hour, around 2 p.m. Eastern Time on November 4th, Wisconsin and Michigan were both called for Biden. Wisconsin by a margin of around 10,000 votes, and Michigan by a margin of around 100,000 votes. And Biden was also making gains in Pennsylvania and Georgia. However, Trump was maintaining his lead in North Carolina and Alaska. So now you have Joe Biden with 253 electoral votes and Donald Trump with 214 electoral votes. 71 electoral votes, still undecided. However, Donald Trump must win Pennsylvania and must win Georgia if he wants anything better than a tie, if he wants to win. And if he wants to win, he pretty much has to run the table at this point. So at this point, this is when many in the Trump campaign started to get concerned. However, they were saying the math would turn in Nevada and Arizona, and to be honest, no one expected Biden to come back from his 700,000 vote deficit in Pennsylvania. Now, what was interesting is Biden had significant leads in both Arizona and not so much Nevada. He had about a 12,000 vote lead there. But Nevada was only updating every 24 hours. So I remember my friends and I were kind of talking about this situation. And we were saying, well, we think it's about to get called, but it's not going to get called because Nevada's taking their sweet time uploading the votes. And, that's no issue. You want to make sure you count every vote to make sure people's votes are heard, whether they're for Trump or Biden. And some networks, including Fox News, had called Arizona for Biden. However, for the sake of our YouTube video, we are going to leave Arizona too early to call. So as the days progressed, as you got into Thursday, Friday, Donald Trump's lead in Pennsylvania and Georgia drastically shrunk. And I think by late Friday night, Biden had taken the lead in Georgia by about 1,000 votes and was about to take the lead in Pennsylvania. Early Saturday morning, he did take the lead in Pennsylvania, and it got up to about 20,000 votes, and Pennsylvania was called for Biden. And with Pennsylvania, Biden reached a total of 273 electoral votes, meaning he was elected President of the United States, and the election was called 4 days later on November 7th, 2020. Biden had managed to flip the Rust Belt states back into the Democratic column, which was a huge win for the Democrats. And Biden had also managed to flip Arizona, which was called later in the day on Saturday, November 7th, 2020. And then Nevada was called, I believe, Sunday, November 8th, and they had finished counting all of their votes. Then Alaska and North Carolina were called for Trump, bringing Trump to a total of 232 electoral votes to Biden's 290, with Georgia being the only state yet to be called, but Biden having the lead there. Then finally, 10 days after Election Day, on November 13th, Georgia was called for Joe Biden, meaning all electoral votes had been decided, with Biden receiving 306 and Trump receiving 232. Now, the significant aspect of this election was Biden had managed to flip Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania back to the Democratic column. Georgia had voted for a Democratic presidential nominee for the first time since 1992, and Arizona had gone blue for the first time in decades, mainly due to former Senator Jeff Flake and the wife of late Senator John McCain, Cindy McCain, who both did vote for Biden and supported him. And Arizona went blue by a significant margin. Biden did manage to hold on to Nevada, while Trump did manage to hold on to North Carolina, turn South Dakota and North Dakota more red, hold on to Florida, and in fact, in terms of Florida, make it an electoral blowout, winning by a margin of 200,000 votes, and turn Ohio more red, along with Maine's 2nd congressional district. Now, Texas did turn more blue this election, so Texas will be a hotly contested state in 2024, giving us a lot to look forward to. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was informational, and have a great evening.